pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up is the approval of today's agenda. Motion to approve.
Make a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, motion to amend the agenda. Do I have a second? Okay, we're going to go and amend today's agenda. We're going to add some appointees under new business. Karen Kaplan for the first term aquatics, Randy Weinmiller for the first term budget and finance, Frank Brown first term budget and finance, and Robert Hillegas first term budget and finance. I'm going to go ahead and put a motion out there to amend the agenda as planned. Second. All in favor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Steve, correction on that. And also to, with the amendment of the agenda, we're going to go ahead and strike today's first reading, the resolution F06 added to that. So with that, do I have the approve the agenda as amended? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor. So the approval of today's agenda has passed. Next up is the approval of minutes for the June 15th, 2024 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose? Any abstentions? Approval of the minutes have passed. Next up is the July 1st, 2024 special meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Say aye. Second? Any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, calling the questions. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose? Any abstentions? Approval of the minutes have passed for July 1st. Next up, July 12th special meeting. Motion to approve the minutes from the July 12th special meeting. A motion
So
approved.
moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'll call in the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Any abstentions? Approval of those minutes have passed. Next up is President's remarks. Once again, I would like to congratulate Ocean Pines Association as well as the Ocean Pines Fire Department for their agreement of their MOU that has passed this past week. It's a great day for Ocean Pines and Ocean Pines Fire Department. I'd also like to thank John Viola for accepting his extension to be here with us for the next 20 years. No, just kidding. Just kidding. For the next for the next 4 years. So John, thank you for that. I really do appreciate it, and the board does appreciate, and I know the association does appreciate that as well. Next up, GM report. John.
Hey, thank you, Rick. And I just want to say thank you to the board and Ocean Pines. Really like it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start off. We start off with the first slide. Obviously, we have some pictures there. Jeff sent them in, but we get many pictures of our beautiful Ocean Pines. So we'll start off with, as we do every time, I will talk about maintenance, and we have a lot of maintenance, landscaping, beautification, drainage. I want to talk a little bit about the yacht club and the renovation initiatives. But the main point, and you'll see in the financials and everything today, is our amenities are operating, as I've been saying, on all cylinders. The numbers are really good prior year, this year versus budget, but also to recognize our support team. It's a turnkey operation for all the amenities. And I just want to recognize everybody behind the scenes that get all our amenities up to date, and Public Works and everybody accounting. So with that, let's see the numbers. Let's go on. All right, so maintenance, we did get a lot of calls. We are working on the bridge right near golf course. We're on golf course, near the golf course. It's the wing walls. We've talked about this. We finally got the outside contractor. They're on it. Everything's good. I'm getting more positive feedback, and of course, it's 150,000 rounded on the page. Beach Club, we did our work there. We were ready, with the heat and everything. There were some, boards that popped, some nails. We got a lot of emails to info at Ocean Pines, so it's working. We sent the team up there and, there's the results. So they're on it. We'll keep track of it. And just, those boards, that boardwalk is in the DMA a couple of years from now for total, replacement. So the beach club, and then obviously the swim and racket board, same thing, replaced for safety issues. We did get a couple emails on it and we got on it right away. Also, if you just go back on that, just something, and I haven't talked to BNF or anybody yet, but we have a couple slips there that are too small for boats. So we're looking at possibility of putting in jet ski docks. We're getting estimates on that. I already have somebody who's ready to sign up for them. So we will look at that. I'll run it by BNF and any committees and anything before, hopefully we go forward. Front page. Maintenance. So we did get this. In fact, the gentleman, I believe, is sitting right there. So this walkway, I did go up there. There was where the curb is. There was a situation where you could hit your foot and trip or whatever. So that's been patched. We've been patching wherever we can. In the off season, we are looking at resurfacing that blacktop walkway, which is, I guess, a shortcut from the parking lot. Okay, how are you? Yeah. Okay, grounds. I received info Ocean Pines about cutting around the pond. We actually got a couple calls on that. You could see the tractor's there, and I believe they did it yesterday. I was passing by, and we got some pictures. And it looks pretty nice. Landscaping continuing. Obviously, each year we do mulching. The team's on it. We tried to capture, you could see the park on the right. I believe that's the one in White Horse Park. They were doing it the other day. So we're estimating right now, we spent about 10,000 on mulch. Usually we spend about 15 to 20,000. That's also a safety thing because the mulch, obviously, if somebody falls. So we're on it. Sure.
I just want to make a comment about the dog park. My boy Max loves the mulch. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. It's good to hear. It is a nice dog. Landscaping, dog park, additional sand, and mulch. I believe somebody came to a board meeting, told us about the middle of the hole. We took care of it. And you can see it continuing the mulch all around. Front page. New signs. These two new signs are right off Manklin Creek. They put them in this past week. The Racket Center, we reported on these in prior board meetings. I think they look pretty nice, and we've pretty much replaced most of the signs, if not all of them on the page. Around $3,000. Okay, so this picture, they're actually here as we speak. Pelican, an outside company. This will be the 5th time they've been here. I just wanted to summarize it to everybody. We all believe this was the best thing we ever did for drainage. We've spent, and I've mentioned this, and we got all the numbers. I'm going to say around at $1 million over the last 4 years plus on this drainage, the main pipes that were not functional for years. And that really relieves a lot of the pressure and a lot of the water going out to the bay. We continue to spend on this. This is money. We didn't increase the assessment on it. We did not have a reserve for this. This is all reallocated money from all the organic growth and efficiencies on expenses that we've done. $1 million over the 4 years. This year, around 200, I see the number up there, 210,000. Those are the locations. Those are the pipes. Yacht Club. So the reason on this is on the left, if you've been there, Leah spoke to me, Matt. We talked with Matt. We tried to do something to increase the beautification of that room. So Leah mentioned about these new room dividers. I think they're pretty nice. Credit to her. And I believe Michelle ordered them and bought everything. So credit on all that. I put the tiki bar in there. We built that. I've talked about it. I think it's a big win for the organization. Matt has confirmed that he's doing, I don't know about record break, but he's doing a lot better revenue with it. So again, this is enhancing customer service. No way did we expect to bring in new customers, but certainly I was there yesterday. It was pretty neat. Renovation initiatives. Okay, I was actually looking forward on this one. Veterans Memorial Pavilion, I got a status green. Timeline is from June to November 2024. The date is obviously Veterans Day that we've committed to get it done. So right now we're in the planning stage. We do have an architect who hit the ground running this week. Whalen brought her in. She actually went out there that day, and we actually have some sketches that I'm going to meet with Marie Gilmore this week. Hopefully I believe we've captured everything that she wants. Credit to Frank Brown again. He's doing the preliminary drawings. When we do this, it saves us money because we make all the changes before we even get to the architect. Reviewed work and then Marie Gilmore this week. So we're on track on that. It will be stick built. I know I had brought forward that we were looking at kits, but one of the reasons was we couldn't get an architect. So Marie wants it stick built. It's the right way to go, and I believe we're on track for that. Firehouse, just a little bit on that again with the Frank Brown. Joe was there this week, went through the plans that we had, making some changes to it where Frank will incorporate that. And then the architect that we have for the pavilion will sit down with her and go through it with the fire department every step of the way. So it's all right there. Revised drawings, revised drawings with OPVFD once we get them back from Frank. And then we'll develop a funding plan that we're all working on. All good stuff there. So did you know? So I actually like this. I think we've gotten some good feedback on it, trying to give everybody information that maybe you don't know about. I know Josh has put it in several different places. He's telling me that we're getting some good feedback. Page. DMA research study. So I have updated everybody over the last 6 months or 9 months that we were going to look to do the DMA study in November. But after thinking about everything that we're going to be doing this next year, thinking about the regulatory agency, and they still haven't come out and given a specific number or percentage, but I'm hearing they may do it or they're going to do it. We still had 2 years left on the 5-year guidance or regulations that came out. So I mentioned to the board, I mentioned the BNF, and everybody was in agreement that we're going to stretch it out. I'm going to stretch it out 2 years. I spoke to Doug Green at DMA. He agreed. He thought it was a good move. So they're going to come in the spring of 2026. Linda, is that right? Yep. 2026. And we will do that now. In the meantime, our team will still work on it. We'll still update the DMA binder that we have. We will be part of his beta where we can go online and start doing the work ourselves. So we will start that in September. For the page.
Quick question.
Yeah. Questions on this? Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll continue, the reserve contributions that we're making, none of that's changed, right? That'll just
Absolutely.
continue. We'll
There
keep
was-
moving forward with it.
That's a given, as long as I'm, absolutely. That'll still, in fact, what I'm working with Steve is doing the projections for the next 7 years.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, but they will be, and they'll be in line with what we've been doing, and we will show everybody the percentages. Yep. Anybody else questions on that? Oh. All right, let me just, is that the last slide? All right, so my apologies, the chief is here. That's my last slide. Chief, I know you have a couple things you want to talk about. Apologies. I need that slide where it says chief, so. Sorry, chief.
Slide.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Chief.
So beautiful. The temperature has really fallen. It's a beautiful morning here in Ocean Pines. I want to update you on a couple things. Number one, some of you may have been aware of the little mini crime spree we had a couple weeks ago, where they were breaking into some cars, even trying to steal some cars. And I'm proud to say that one of our officers caught them in the act.
All right.
And
All right.
luckily somebody called us at 3:30 in the morning when their car alarm went off, and Officer Howard showed up and caught them. And you might remember Officer Howard, he was just sworn in here this spring. He's one of our new hires. And this brings me to another point. I want to make sure everybody's aware that the Ocean Pines Police Department is now back 24 hours a day.
All right.
So
Way to go.
we have round the clock coverage now. One of the things, big thing we have coming up is a National Night Out, which is going to be August 6th. You come out and visit with the police department. I'll be there. Our general manager will be there. Our board will be there. And, TV 47 even came into the story on it this past week. So I hope to see everybody out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief, how long you been here? How long you been here?
it'll be 1 year in about 2 weeks. That's like, give me
Alright.
1
A
year.
lot of change.
Good
1
change.
year. Good change. It's been a great first year here. And I couldn't do it though without the support of the community, support of Mr. John Viola and the board.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a great place to be. Thank you all.
All right.
Thanks, Chief.
5.0. Okay, sorry about that, Chief. All right. Cool work. All right, Linda Martin.
Okay, let me go back to that. Aquatics, speaking of the record breaking at Matt or mentioned about the Tiki Bar, Aquatics had a record breaking 4th of July as well, averaging around 20,000 4th of July weekend. All capacity, 4th, 5th, and 6th, they were at capacity by 11 o'clock. So if you're a member, we suggest you get there early. They do have memberships. If you have a membership, you can swim between 8 and 10. So get there early to get your spot. Okay. Why are you hanging up? Okay, 4th of July, it was another successful event. We had the 5K race, carnival and fireworks. Revenue, we had 18,000, expenses 36, we averaged 17, still favorable to budget. Camp Ocean Pines, this is another event that we suggest you register early. We were at capacity the first week. This is the first time that we were at capacity for Camp Ocean Pines. It runs through August 23rd. Beach mats. I know it's been brought up on social media. We brought it up a few times at the meetings here. Beach mats per town of Ocean City, federal guidelines are that the handicap access to the beach states that beach mats are required to be installed every half a mile. There's one right next door at 48th Street, and we cannot install it because of liability issues. We're putting it on Ocean City owns the dunes. We own the mat. Even if we try to put the mat on, it would be a liability issue. So we do have the handicap chair that can be used. Just go see the lifeguard at the pool and they'll be more than happy to let you rent it. Mailboxes, we started cleaning the mailboxes. Public Works has made a suggestion of repairing the mailboxes in lieu of replacing them. So they're going around to some of the sites to verify which ones can be just repaired. Could be just the locks need to be replaced or something like that. So they're trying to save money on this project. But we have ordered more mailboxes and hopefully soon we'll be able to start that back up. Okay.
Talking about the lines.
Hit your mic.
On the mailboxes, because you're talking about it, do we go to the post office if you need a new lock, or is that so?
Yes, you go to the
Okay.
post office, you need a new lock. Yes, they have the keys and they'll give you a new lock and they'll replace it. Yes.
All right, and then when the boxes themselves, I know with the stands we were replacing them, but with the boxes, is that a post office thing that they do, or do we have to do those boxes as well?
The
So a couple of years ago, the board instructed me to replace them. So we're replacing them.
Okay,
It was my feeling that the post office should have been doing it all this year, but now we do it.
thank you.
Okay, CPI violations, 238 new violations. We're again ramping up on maintenance. 262 remain open and 68 in maintenance, trash and violations, 84 no permits, 16 signs and 94 miscellaneous, which includes trailers and unregistered vehicles. We do suggest that you read the updated guidelines, especially with the candidate signs. Candidate signs for elections. Elections are in November. You cannot put your candidate sign out 30 days prior to the election. So we're initiating violations on these. So we suggest that you just read the updated guidelines as far as signs and flags. Work orders, June, 107 new work orders, 171 remain open, majority in drainage. But we do have, the remainder that we do have, 17 in bulkheads. We're just waiting for, a lot of them are cat boards that we're just waiting for the supplies. Grounds, roads, signs, general maintenance, that's, usually like facilities, more or less just waiting for the supplies as well to do the work order. Okay.
Linda, let me just jump in for a second on this one. So So this past week on the info at oceanpines.org, and actually I think the gentleman came directly to me and then the board. I did get a question on trees. And we've heard this over the years, and I've heard it all the years I've been here about the cutting down of trees and people mass cuttings down or whatever. So this one was a lot of discussion with Linda and myself. We read everything, and there was a lot on the forum on it. A lot of it was educational. What we are going to be doing now going forward is we will review for reasonableness and within our DNRs or our regulatory scrolls, new construction and permits and how they go about cutting down the trees on the lots. Now, they do have to get permits and approvals from the county. Our DNR, our governing documents are a little more restrictive, and we will have the inspectors out there. So that's a big change from what I've seen over the 25 years. So we have listened to the feedback, and we're going to address that. Any questions? Okay.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, 131 emails and phone calls received. A lot of them are just general questions about Ocean Pines. So this month, it's been a lot of people asking for bulkheads, when their bulkheads going to be replaced. I'm not sure why. But we've had a majority of them have been for when is my bulkhead going to be replaced. Thankfully, we do have the DMA study online that you can look up yourself. So you can look that up, but we'll be more than happy to help you. But we do get general questions. We did have a lot this month as well. People wanting to move here. So they want to know what we have to offer. So there have been the majority of the questions this month. But we 131 emails. But if you have any other questions, info@oceanpines.org.
Question before we move on. So I don't sound like a broken record. Any update on cell service or our conversations on?
Actually, we do.
Chief.
Is the chief still here or chief? Cell service. Anything you want to share with the board? And credit to the chief who is now helping us with it.
Funny you should bring that up.
We didn't.
All right, well,
we didn't
one thing
plant
we
it.
noticed is I should have brought this up in one of my comments. We even know, everybody here's aware how bad the cell phone service is. And this being my first summer here, boy, I didn't believe it. And when I couldn't even make phone calls and I couldn't connect with people, calls failing. And one of my biggest worries is that somebody's trying to call for help and that's their only means of communication. Either the call won't go through or it would go through to 911 and they won't be able to hear them on the other end. So we've already started having conversations this week, the last couple of days, with the county administration of Worcester County, just to see what possibilities there are about getting them or trying to work with the carriers. So we restarted those conversations just this past week. So it's probably something that's not going to be immediate, but hopefully get something so when next summer rolls around, everybody's here, we'll be in a better situation.
So Chief, on that, are we gearing this more towards public safety?
Yes, we're gearing
Safety?
towards public safety. There's a public
Okay.
safety where then that's where the angle I'm coming in from.
Okay.
Is
Perfect.
that if somebody calls for help, we need to make sure that call goes through.
Good. Perfect. Thanks, Chief.
Chief,
Hey,
next one.
Linda, one more comment. I just want to thank you for highlighting the CPI guideline. It's a big deal and everybody needs to pay attention. Thank you.
I have gotten a lot of requests for the red line guidelines. If anyone wants a copy of the red line guidelines, just email info@oceanpines. I'll be more than happy to email the red line so you can see what changes have been made to the previous copy.
Thank you.
Okay. Financials. Okay, so before we talk about this slide, I just want to have the controller's report. It's online. I know the board received it from Steve. And obviously the first page is something I've been looking at for 20 years. The first page pretty much summarizes it all, what Steve or the controller always puts. For the month, the operating fund variance, and we have to report per budget, per our scrolls, was favorable 176,000 rounded. Year to date versus budget, we're favorable 429,000. I do want to talk about that more in the detail and explain to you with that and different payrolls, how many payrolls in a month, but that favorability, as I reported pretty much every bit, is driven by revenue. And in here it says, the revenue for the year to date was almost 418,000 out of the 429. Now, we do have expenses. Expenses go down. We cut expenses, but we've reallocated expenses somewhere else. Most of it goes to safety, police. So that gives you the overall. Now let's go in and get the detail. So for the month, what I do now is, the last several months is we not only report to budget, but we report to prior year. Everywhere I've ever been, you certainly should understand prior year. So this one's an interesting one, and I just had to go back over it a couple of times. When you look at the numbers and everything's favorable, there on the right is versus budget for the month, and that's the $176,000 favorability that I told you about. And that's basically driven by revenue. If you look halfway up, subtotal amenities, 130,000, 129,000 favorable. The amenities are basically paying for themselves. Golf is actually favorable, but that pretty much tells it from where we're at. When you look at prior year, you can say, well, there you're unfavorable. So this is where we have, and it's baked into the budget. This year in June, we had 3 payrolls, and our payroll, especially in the summer, is very high. Last year it was in July. So for me to get that true picture on where we're at, let's look at the end of July, but all indications and everything, I'm looking at July, I will be sitting here with very favorable numbers but you'll see more balance between the favorability versus last year and this year. And I just want to point out, and I will continue to point out, when we build and craft the budget, we're building the budget on more spend, and we've lowered the assessment. So we are building that budget to try to offset that, but anything that's favorable goes back into the budget to pay for safety. So it's all built in, right? Numbers look good. Amenities, love it. Turn the page. All right, so then year to date pretty much tells the story. There's the 429. You look up top, just like we did for the month. I'm in the last column. Over 300,000 is revenue. Easy for me to talk about when it's something like that. And then you can see the prior year, right? So it's all there. You can see how we build it and look at those schedules. If you have any questions, please info@oceanpines.org. Front page. All right, so the reserves, I like to put this in there. I asked Steve yesterday to give me a forecast for the rest of this year, right? Because I'm in June, 2 months in. So you look at the top line, that's the 430.24 balance, that's 7 million. Even Ms. Camille will tell you that's our balance from all the updates. You go about 3/4 down the page, 630.24, you see 9.4. That's where we are today. And I've been through this years and years where everybody's like, well, we got so much money, and we're looking good. But that money still needs to be spent. The board approved, approval of the money. So you can see the contributions went in. Now I have 12 months where we spent based upon the budget. So Steve's given me, and actually Linda worked on it also for me. You could see second line from the bottom, 2.3 more of estimated spend for the year. Obviously, the irrigation's in there and the other projects that were all in the budget bind are all spelled out. I think we are estimating a little more spend than what we contributed because of the little bit on the tiki bar and the pavilion. So, but at the end of the year, we will be somewhere around 7 million is what we're forecasting. That 7 million, then you can see we're allocating by different reserve. And you can see we have a drainage reserve. Where we'll forecast for the next 7 years on the percentage, which will work into the DMA study. It's a good schedule. Treasurer's report.
John, thanks. Great numbers. Thanks to you and your team for what they do. So we have our treasurer, Monica Rakowski. She's joining us on Teams. She'll be giving us our treasurer's report. Monica.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Rick. As of June 30th, 2024, the association had approximately $19.1 million in cash. Cash increased $1 million from the same time period last year. Cash decreased $100,000 from May of 2024. The association has $10.6 million invested in CDARS. $58,000 in interest income was recognized for the month. The remaining $8.5 million is in insured sweep, treasury bills, money market, and other operating accounts diversified between 2 local banks. Thank you, Rick.
Any questions? Great, thanks, Monica. So right now, we're going to go to public comments. Members wishing to make public comments must state their name and address, and comments are limited to 5 minutes. So those who wish to come forward, please state your name and address.
Good morning, Gary Miller, 15 Windward Court. At last month's board meeting, a proposal from the Aquatics Advisory Committee was read, and it was related to a proposal for a sunset and cocktails event. And it was totally misinterpreted by the board and the discussions that went on after the reading of the proposal. As I explained in the follow-up email to all of the board members, this event would be open to everyone, just like Family Fun Night is open to everyone. And like Family Fun Night, which is geared toward kids and family, but open to everyone, this event would be geared toward singles, couples, and seniors, but again, open to everyone. The whole idea that this is or was proposed to be an adults only event was totally wrong. It was written into the proposal that this would be open to families and the entire community. One of the reasons that this idea came up is because there are currently no events geared toward that group of the community. There's nothing for singles, couples, and seniors specifically. So the idea that we can promote a family fun night, which is geared toward kids and families, but open to everyone, and not do the same with singles, couples, and families, where everybody would be invited, doesn't make any sense. I'm hoping that the attorneys understand that our proposal was not for an adults only event. It's an event to include the entire community, but it would be geared toward the singles, couples, and seniors. I hope that the attorney makes a decision and understands what the purpose of this was. And part of the purpose was to give an event to this group that is not really recognized in the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Any further public comments?
Morning, Karen Kaplan, 32 Chatham Court. So I want to say thank you to all the directors and John and the whole team for all the good work you've been doing for the community. It's really obvious. I mean, you drive around and see new signs and things like that. It's great. Okay, so I'm really asking Director Farr this question. At the candidates forum, I asked you if you would support a modification to require that the final annual budget with red line items be posted as public notice 14 days prior to board approval, and you said yes. I hope that the other directors will agree with Rick that this added time for homeowners to look at the proposed budget before the directors vote on it is a good idea. There is time for legal counsel to provide guidance on properly modifying probably resolution F-02 for a first reading at the annual meeting. So is it possible that we can expect the first reading to take place at the annual meeting?
As far as that is possible. That's something that we also have to go through with, oh, go ahead, John.
So look, Karen, we're all in favor of putting this
Right.
thing, the budget out there. Rick, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just help me, maybe I don't understand. You want a first reading in the August annual meeting. We don't even start the budget process to September, and it gets approved in February.
Okay, how about September?
So you want me to do you want them to do a presentation while we're working on it? We start working on it. Let me just so you know, and look, I see what you're getting at. Maybe you just have the wrong month.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so is it something you're agreeing to do? You know, as a group here?
We agree to that.
Whenever the proper time is.
We'll agree to be as transparent as we can as far as for the budget. That's what we want to do. So, working with John and his team and making sure that what we put out there is what we're able to see or what the association members are able to see. But it's gonna have to be doing that timeline and the time
Okay,
of the month
that's
that we have with the budget.
Okay,
So,
And if I may, I apologize for talking about, so and Linda's just reminding me, and Linda is right. So this year, what happened, and I think is, we went to put the budget up at the point we were at, and there was a website update, and we lost a couple days. Keith, am I right on that? And that's when you were looking for it. It would have been there. We had the web update, and we just couldn't get it out there. And I do remember you looking for it, and I do also remember them responding that the website was down. So that might have been part of it. Look, whatever. I honestly, I thought we were as transparent as can be, but if not, we can always be more. It doesn't matter to me. We go through intense B&F reviews where every dollar is reviewed. There's a whole process. I think what happened last year and why you feel is that it wasn't up there when you were looking for it, and I get it, but the website was down.
okay.
So,
Thanks.
but we'll make all efforts, and you can
I'll
talk.
follow up in a couple of months.
Yes,
Okay,
and you can
thank,
come to me during the process and whatever.
okay.
Doug, wanna say?
Yeah, I just wanted to address one thing that's misnomer is that you mentioned a first reading of F-01 at the annual meeting. Be advised that the annual meeting is a membership meeting, not a board meeting. A resolution that affects the board and the governing documents of the board can only be done at a board meeting. You can certainly discuss it at an annual meeting, but you can't vote on it and treat it as a first reading for a membership meeting versus a board meeting.
Okay,
Clear that up.
okay, thank you.
other public comments? I'm going to go ahead and close the floor to public comments. Capital requests, we have none. CPI violations, Linda.
By resolution M1, no hearing was requested and the violation continues. Recommending that for the violations illegal and suspend voting rights and amenity rights. 29 quarter staff has new owners, so that is stricken from the list. But the following are the ones that I'm recommending for the violations legal. 298 Ocean Parkway, 164 Teal Circle, 25 Sandy Hook Road, 36 Seafair Lane, 2 Lighthouse Court, 5 Rockside Road, 11 Tail the Fox Drive, 1126 Ocean Parkway, 73 High Sheriff Trail, 29 Cannon Drive, and 6 Lee Drive.
We have a motion to move to legal for proceeding and suspend amenities and voting rights. Do I have a second? Any discussion?
298 Ocean Parkway, we're looking to put them into legal and suspend their voting and amenity rights for trash can?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is
Okay.
part of the, that's part of the guideline, actually it's declaration restrictions, section
Mhm.
AI states that you have to screen your trash cans.
So they're just leaving it out there?
They're
not
leaving
putting
it out
away?
there and we've given them notice to
Okay.
move and they have not moved it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion and call on the question, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion has passed. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have election committee update. Chairman Steve Ransdell.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Steve.
It is a fine day to live in Ocean Pines. I'm happy to be here to report that the election is proceeding according to its timeline. ballots were sent out both electronically and by mail, according to the plan. Of the ballots that were sent in the initial package, 113 came back to us as undeliverable. Of those 113, 27 came back with new forwarding addresses and ballots were issued to those 27. After the initial time period, we got an updated eligible list and 296 lots were added to the eligible list and they received ballots as well. That brought our total of eligible votes in this election to 7,777. If anybody's a lottery player, I think I'd play that one. So far, I believe this is as of Tuesday, we had 667 votes cast online and 1,780 cast with paper ballots, with a total votes to date of 2447. As far as concerns expressed to the election committee, so far we have had 18 contacts to the committee, either through voicemail or email. 11 of those were for replacement ballots, either not receiving them or somehow becoming damaged or lost. And those 11 were all issued replacement ballots. We've had 4 questions, mostly centered around whether the drop box that's been there every year for the past, I don't know how many. So we answered those. Yes, the drop box has been and is there. We had 3 complaints of ranging from a sign on Ocean Pines property to other initial concerns, which were largely addressed within 24 hours. So I'm happy to say everything's proceeding apace. We're on target to close the balloting August 6th at 4 p.m. and get a report ready for certification for the annual meeting.
Steve, so out of 7,777 ballots that went out, after it's all said and done, there's 3 complaints, correct? So
far,
and we only have a couple weeks left in our election process.
Right.
Let me tell you, in recent memory, I don't remember an election running as smooth as what you're presiding over. And I wanted to extend our gratitude for an amazing job you're doing.
I thank you for that, but I would like to point out that we are at this point executing an excellent plan laid out by the former chairman of the committee, Tom Piatti, and his crew. My committee now is, other than me, all brand new within the last few months. So we're getting up to speed on it, but we're executing a great plan, and we would hope that we would have the same plan or very similar for next year.
Yeah, Tom left it in good hands.
Thank you.
Any other comments? John?
Steve, can you just share with the group how the ballots that are in the police station, because I know there were some questions, sort of how that's going to, from here on out, how that's going to work, how they're going to get sent in and
Okay.
whatnot, just so everybody understands.
All right, so that is the final hurried part of this process. When the balloting officially closes 4 p.m. August 6th, I will be there with witnesses and we will take the ballots that are in that ballot box, package them up and immediately take them for shipping to MK Elections. And they will be overnighted so that they have as much time as possible to complete that last piece of the count. Then we will receive a report back with the results. And if any contested ballots or unable to be read ballots need to be resolved, we will address that. And then we will have a final report to share with the board and the membership on the 6th. Did that address your question?
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
I have one more
Excellent.
question.
Go ahead, Elaine.
Will that be similar to what occurred last year where there was a meeting, I think, in this room and they did everything up on the screen so that could be validated and
Because we're dealing with a new vendor, I don't know the exact state of how that was left. I will be checking on that this week with Kenny
Okay.
to make sure that we have a very clear timeline for that as I say, that 4-day window in between ballots closing and getting a final report.
Yeah, and
if you-
also, I guess the process of the ballots, ballots that were returned that you have to kind of make a call on.
That's what I'm referring to.
Okay,
All the ballots, obviously electronic ballots are tabulated by the computer.
Mhm.
It's just the paper ballots that have all the ones that have been received have been collected.
Mhm.
That's the term we use. They've been collected, they've not been counted. It's a semantic term, I suppose. I'm sure the machine that scanned them has a count as well, but we won't get that final report until everything is adjudicated and to MK, and then I will get an email report and we will follow the process for getting it ready for the annual meeting.
okay.
Any other questions? Steve?
Sorry. My question to you. Um, Are we still shipping ballots on a periodic basis that come from the Dropbox to the vendor? Or are you just gonna wait till everything comes on the last day when you
This
have
year-
witnesses and send it off? I mean,
This year, it is the latter. All the ballots that have been dropped at the police station are there now. They have not been collected. They will be August 6th. And that was largely due to the fact that for the initial period, I didn't have a committee. We were very
Good.
short-staffed,
get that.
and I also, until my wife lets me become a full-time resident, which I hope is very soon, I'm a part-timer, so getting it done. Now we're fully staffed, and we will be addressing that in our after-action report. But it's kind of a balance between how many shipping fees do we incur, how often we did not have, even in the past, a set schedule of when they would be collected. And contractually, MK is required to count all the ballots that we ship to them at the last minute. So
So everything, all the ballots in the ballot box all at once after 4 o'clock on August 6th gets shipped.
yes, sir.
That's everything.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other further questions? John?
Steve, can you also just share, again, this is for everyone's edification, the process for folks or the persons that attempted to vote and then either send a second, they send a second ballot in or call to ask that they change their mind?
Yes.
If
And
you
the-
could just share that, just. so
Okay,
everyone knows.
in the proposal and the contract we accepted with MK, as with others, we carefully reviewed their process. The board reviewed their process for how they would handle discrepancies. The electronic voting and the paper balloting, because of the technology used, they're two separate things at MK. So at the end, we always have a process to reconcile to see if a vote came in electronically as well as paper. If that's the case, I believe our procedures say that the electronic will be the one of record and the other will be discounted. So we always have that error trapping. We did have some people testing that and commenting on the fact that both were counted. To be clear, nothing has been counted yet. They have been collected and acknowledged that they've been received as appropriate according to it. But the counting doesn't happen until the end of the process, once MK has all the ballots and therefore can reconcile those paper and online.
Elaine, do you have a question? Good.
Yes, it just because I guess I'm just want that confirmed. I thought that if someone had accidentally voted twice or a household had, that the first ballot would be the one
Actually,
that received,
You are correct.
Okay,
It
would
would
be-
be.
counted, not the second one regardless
That,
of.
you're correct.
Okay.
I
I
did
just wanted to make-
misspeak. I'm still new to,
Yeah.
and remembering, all those things, but that is.
No, I
correct.
get it. I just
be
wanted
the-
to make sure our
It will be the first one.
folks know.
We
Yeah.
did have one person contact the election committee wanting to change their vote. And at the advice of council, through the board, we were told, as We expected that once a ballot's cast, it is cast. Cannot be uncasted because we have no way to identify any one person's ballot. All we have, once the outer shipping envelope is stripped from the secret ballot envelope, we only have a code number. So we can't identify how anybody voted.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that, our members understood if they, a husband voted, a wife voted, or whatever. Somebody tried to do it both ways and see
Right.
what happens.
It is the
Which
first
one
ballot
will be
received.
counted? All right, thank you.
Any further questions? Jeff?
You
Well, you guys
mentioned
told me
that,
this was just a report. This is an inquisition.
sorry.
Well, we just want clarity so everybody understands.
We're all about transparency,
Yes.
so ask away.
So you mentioned that the system was tested. Was it tested by an official?
No. What I mean is that, to the best of our knowledge, someone purposely voted initially, like the very first day a paper ballot came out. And subsequent to that, when they got a reminder email, which was sent to all voters reminding you to vote, they followed the electronic link and actually cast a ballot to see what would happen. So I just described the process that will happen. Will be the second one will be declared invalid and the first one counted. But the election rules clearly state not to vote twice. But I don't control people's actions. I only report what happened.
Gotcha. Any further questions? Steve, thanks. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Next, we have Patty Stevens. She's going to give us an update on the Ocean Pines Bike and Pedestrian Work Group. Patty.
Who is a member of the Ocean Pines Bike and Pedestrian Work Group. And Linda, are you doing slides? Okay, next slide, please. So if you remember, in October, just 9 months ago, we came to you and said that this work group had formed as a community work group with members that have expressed interest and concern about the issues of safety and access in our community. Wanted to get involved and shine ways that we could improve things to make this a safer community for walkers and bikers. It's been an issue that's come out in our community surveys. It's come out in not just in Ocean Pines, but in Worcester County wide. And there have been an increase, not just in Ocean Pines, but across Maryland and across the country of incidents for both bikers and pedestrians at, with traffic incidents. So this is the slide from the October meeting. You were very gracious and General Manager Viola appointed 2 people to participate from Ocean Pines, and that is Chief Robinson and Public Works Director Eddie Wells, and we got to work. And so next slide, please. In November, we had our first meeting hosted at the Chamber of Commerce, and we did a wall board with issues and opportunities, what were concerns that people had, what were opportunities that we could improve that, and who else should we be talking to that would be knowledgeable, informing, and could assist. And the next 2 weeks later, John and Eddie went for a walk with myself and several other members of the work group. And we walked one example area that had been highlighted, which was the Sherwood Forest Trails, which crossed 5 roads as they passed from Footbridge to the Robin Hood Park. And John and Eddie saw immediately the problem was there were no crosswalks marked there. There were a lot of unevenness of routes where the trail had worn. And I have never seen such a responsive action happen in all the communities I've lived in my life and all the public works I've been involved with. Within a week, there were wood chips placed in the low spots that were along the trail, and signage was ordered. Chief Robinson participated with Public Works and Eddie to identify by the it's called MUTDC, Master Uniform Traffic Safety Code some, national guidelines where the signs could go and what the crosswalks could look like. Even though Ocean Pines has full authority, you could paint flowers and bunnies on the crosswalks if you wanted, but we were trying to be, meeting standards. And so those 5 crosswalks, if you haven't walked the Sherwood Forest Trail, 5 crosswalks are now in when you come out of the trails and cross each road, and there are yellow signs that say bike and pedestrian. So that happened within a month of the time that we had the first conversation to raise this with our Ocean Pines. Amazing accomplishment. So the other issue that was identified, or one of the issues, was speed violations around the community that, put not just walkers and bikers at risk, but people in cars also. And so the chief began placing around the community these, you've seen it, the lighted thing that says how fast you're going. And the good news was there were actually many fewer speeding violations that the perception, oftentimes when you're walking on your side and biking, you feel that car going by, and I'm one, on my own back street, I yell at the kids that drive too fast on the road and get out there and wave at them. But there were really many fewer, and I think Chief has presented that to you and that data on what that has been. And so, but it's a good thing. It is a deterrent itself to put that sign out and show people what speed they're going. So that was a tremendous positive. The other spectacular accomplishment is the sidewalk and crosswalk at 589. How many of you have seen people using that crosswalk to go to the Food Lion? Okay. Every time I go out of Southgate where I live, I see someone on there. I see elderly people on bikes with their groceries on the bikes. I see a man who goes every single week with a walker to the grocery store to get his food. He has stopped and personally thanked me walking on that trail. I see kids with fishing rods coming, and they ride their bikes down to Gunpoint Park, which is a little scary to me, but they're taking their fishing rods and riding on their bikes. So that crosswalk, which wasn't an accomplishment of this work group specifically, but the pressure I believe that we put on collectively between the association, the citizen input, the police input, the county input, got that crosswalk, which has been in discussion for more than 10 years. And then the connecting sidewalk to the trail. So that is a huge accomplishment. The work group provided input in March to the county master plan. This is a grant that the larger Worcester County work group applied for a grant from the state to get a bike and pedestrian master plan for Worcester County completed. And one of the important stages of it, like all the planning we do here in Ocean Pines, was to get community input to it. And so the work group went around and talked to different association groups, had a public meeting at the library to get input and to give guidance to the county on what should be included in this county master plan, which is now out in draft. And I believe I sent the link to you in the communication I sent. So any of you who, it's still open for draft comment till August. And that input, I'm going to show you in a minute, was amazingly received amazingly well for us. What Ocean Pines asked for, essentially we got. The Ocean Pines Day, which was a tremendous success. We had a booth. I saw many of you there. We had a poster board with a map, and we asked people to say, where do you go when you're in Ocean Pines? Where would you like to go? If you could bike or walk safely, where would you go on foot or by bike? And people gave us great feedback and a lot of input, and it was concurrent and consistent with feedback people have given us at the community bike rides and the community trail walks. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. In May, thanks to our wonderful Chief Robinson, Chief and I worked together on a grant submission to the Maryland State Highway Office, and were awarded a grant. And they gave some really good feedback to that grant, right? They said it was a really good, yeah, it was good. We were a good team. And we got just under $5,000 to fund some community education, a bike rodeo, e-bike safety course, and to obtain lights and reflectors. How many of you have driven around and seen or not seen people all dressed in black walking or biking along the main roads? Okay, yeah. So about half the J1 students work in places where the uniform is all black. McDonald's is one. The McDonald's both in our community and up by Walmart. The casino uniform is black. You can't see them. And I stop them on the side of the road and say, got to put something else on. You got to put some lights on. So we ordered through this grant reflecting strips and lights that we can be given out through the Chamber of Commerce. Carrie is working with us to plan employer events to give them to employees. The chief and his team will have them in the car so that when they see folks walking in dark at night and biking, they can give them lights and reflectors. So that's going to be a great grant. We have community volunteers who are going to lead e-bike safety course, because we've heard a lot of feedback from people that people with new e-bikes are maybe not observing. Last time they rode a bike was when they were 10 and they've forgotten how to ride safely on the road. So we need to do, and there's a great coursework available from across the country. June, so we had got one grant from Maryland Highway Safety. June, the Coastal Association of Realtors, through our member Mickey Lobb, gave an award for a demonstration project that I'm going to talk to you about. It was we requested $1,000. They had a lot of amazing, great requests. So they gave us $250, but the Chamber of Commerce stepped up at our last meeting and said we could give $500 towards this project. So I have in there what our summer goals are, is to distribute the lights, reflectors, and safety information for summer workers and residents, and in fall to conduct some of that education. So that's what we've been doing. That's what we plan to do. And I'll flip through the other things more quickly. Linda, if you could advance that. So we have a great work group, and you can read that. Every one of them is contributing. It's not a work group where people just come and sit. They have all done activity, specific contributions of value to this. In fact, Dr. Paul Rogers, who is not here, he's a physician on the State Fatality Review Committee. He was also a great reviewer of my slide deck, and he said, your slides are too busy, you have too much on them, and he revised them, but they had already gone out to you. So I apologize, I didn't edit them with Paul. Next time he's going to do the slides. Mickey, I said Mickey got the grant. Carrie Bunting has been tremendous in business outreach and again made the additional commitment for the grant. And Pam McGregor led the community bike ride for us. She has working on the bike rodeo with the schools and with Department of Recreation. And so it's a powerful team. And most contributions, thank you to Eddie Wells, Senior Director of Public Works, for the tremendous work he continues to do. So next slide. Okay, the master plan for Ocean Pines. This is what we gave input to, and this is what the engineering firm Mead and Hunt, which has worked across the county, came out with. They have 4 key recommendations for Ocean Pines. They labeled them short-term and long-term. One was and this made my heart sing, to create a side path trail. That means not on the road, separate from the road, with a barrier of some kind, either a grass or concrete barrier along 589, 10 feet wide, set back from the road, from one end of 589 up by the winery all the way to 50. That's pretty amazing. Now, their recommendation is that be a short-term grant, short-term priority. That doesn't mean the money falls from heaven to make that happen. That means grants will have to be written, feasibility studies will have to be done for that. Ocean Parkway on-road trail. So that's the full loop of Ocean Parkway from down at the point all the way around the loop from through the south gate to the north gate, to have an on-road trail, essentially using the shoulder we have currently, which is a shoulder and is informally used as a bike and pedestrian throughway. You see it all the time. It's used all the time, but to demark that as a trail or a lane with colored markings, not with barrier signs, not with Chief has let me know he's not in favor, because he saw them in Salisbury, of the poles and the bumps and things that are along the road. That's not what it's saying. It's saying color demarcation to make that lane, and there is room to do that. The wideness of our road of Ocean Parkway is much wider, and this is true across the country, than a road needs to be in a residential area with a speed of 30 to 35 miles an hour. John?
Just a couple questions, maybe answered, I missed it. So the 589 side path, pretty neat to me. Which
Yep.
side would that be on, the east side?
There'd have to be a whole feasibility study that would determine that. That would be the first step, would be applying for a feasibility study with the county. And
Makes
then
sense.
they would determine, it might shift, it might start on one side And in fact, you'll see one of my recommendations is that we give feedback and that you, as the association, give feedback to prioritize it in 3 segments and to study it and implement it in 3 segments.
Sounds,
The Yacht Club Trail, that was a surprise to me. I didn't know, but this was based on community input and their study of saying what are high priority areas. So the little spur you'll see from Ocean Parkway down to the Yacht Club, an on-road marking that wouldn't be a separate whole lane. It would be, I believe, putting a bike stencil, on the side of the road like you see in some places around, just to let people know that's a route that is used. So those are the 3. And then long-term,
so,
yep.
so one more, so the 6 to 7 feet wide on the Ocean Parkway shoulder existing. Does there need to be an adjustment there, or what we have is good?
No, it's currently not
Right.
wide enough, and I'm going to get to that. It's
Okay.
a great question. So the long-term one, the one we're going to keep praying for and hoping for, is the Route 90 crossing, which was a study done by the state of funding from Governor Hogan, approved by Wes Moore, to put a bike lane when whatever happens with the Route 90 bridge happens, whenever it happens. Honestly, as someone who sits on the State Transportation Commission, there's money needed for many, many things before the Key Bridge fell down. And so I think that I hope to be alive when that ever happens and be able to bike. But anyway, when it happens, they did include in the plan a recommendation to put a bike and pedestrian lane on that. So next, the other significant segments within the county are just that you should know about, not Ocean Pine specific, a 611 off-route trail from Route 50 all the way to the National Park, with a separate off-road trail there, and a Berlin to Snow Hill side path along the railroad easement, the inactive railroad line, which would be a very cool community amenity for our county. So what I'd like to ask for Ocean Pines consideration to give feedback to this plan, which is due by August 1st, is that the saying to the county, we like this idea, we love this idea of a 589 off-road trail, but if you're going to do it, we think the priority should be in 3 segments, and the number 1 segment is to connect South and North Gate. Whether we ever get a connection from South Gate all the way out to 50 may never happen, but we definitely want to have South and North Gate connected, so that should be a priority. And then the section from North Gate to the schools in Showell Park, I think, would be a second priority, and the work group agreed with that. Putting in the plan, there's no place in this plan that recognizes that the Ocean Pines has a beach club in Ocean City, and that's a priority destination for our people to go to and for a recreation destination. So I'd like to have you put in comments that that's a priority destination, and that if and when Route 90 is redesigned, the bike ped path should not be on the bridge with the traffic. It should be a separated lane, which is what the state study said also. And then any other comments you have that you think, but these are the comments that the work group would like to ask for you to send forward. Next slide, please. And then, so this is what's in the county plan that was fed by input from the community. These are issues that have been identified by residents in surveys we collected at community bike rides, at the Ocean Pines Community Day, and in other feedback that has been sent to the work group in the last 9 months. We've done a great job on the crosswalks we already talked about, but there are a couple of key areas that are high traffic bike ped areas. One is right here I'm sorry, we're not at Whitehorse, at Whitehorse Park, where the farmers market is, where the concerts are, where the community festivals are, to put a crosswalk that connects to the North Fire Station path right there. The second is at Ocean Parkway by the Public Works South Fire Station. So people going to the very heavily used racket center, dog park, playground, softball fields could access that without going through the 4-way stop. If you've ever been in the 4-way stop with a biker or pedestrian, that stop is already crazy and confusing, and adding bikes and pedestrians to it is nuts. So finding a pathway to get there without going through that. And then need a bike walk route. John and I have talked about this before, out of South Ocean Pines from the new Steen development out to 589, perhaps on the construction road that runs up through the Godelski Medical Center. And that would be working with Mr. Steen, and I've already met with the CEO of Atlantic General. Mr. Owery, and he said he would think that would be a good thing and he would work with us on that. So next slide. The other thing residents said, and Mickey's going to speak more to this, is improve the existing walk bike areas. If this is a lane along Ocean Parkway, the left is pine needles that have shrunk the existing shoulder from an average of 4 feet to less than 1 foot because the pine needles accrue. And this is in areas where the property is not anybody's residence. It's like a wooded area by the woodlands. It needs a street sweeper to go by or a blower to go by and clear that because it's very slippery. And the right side is a utility cutout. These happen all around Ocean Parkway. I don't know who does those utility cutouts or who's responsible for fixing them, but they leave them in gravel like this. And if you're riding your bike or walking, it's very, very dangerous. And so fixing those or making whoever's supposed to fix them as a request. And then finally, and I'm sorry I've gone over my time, I apologize. We'll wrap up. Last slide. Apply best practices. So we can wait for years. It will take many years for the county to do many of the recommendations in this report. And it will require state activity, federal involvement. But there are some things that Ocean Pines has total authority to do on their own roads that are, and one of them is based on recommendation in this project and also in a lot of best practice work. There's work by the AARP, Better Communities, about how to make communities walkable for all ages. There's studies that have been done by an national organization called Better Block about creating lanes. And there's studies that have been done by transportation planners around the country. And the number one thing that they all agree is if you narrow the car traffic lane slightly by 1 to 2 feet, leaving plenty of room, that the average residential loop like we have that has a speed of 30 to 35 miles an hour like Ocean Parkway does, that doesn't have heavy truck traffic. If you narrow that lane from its current 14 to 16 feet and take 2 feet of that, add it to the shoulder, and then brightly mark the shoulder of the road with a different color marking, that you dramatically increase the safety of the experience for the bike and pedestrian traffic, and it has zero impact on the car traffic. And this is based on a study, Johns Hopkins Public Health study done in 6 cities, and a comparable study that was done by AARP in 50 communities. Yes, sir.
The question, I just want to make sure, I heard study. Has it actually been implemented and they
Yes.
have now experienced and everything worked out?
Absolutely. And I can give you
Yeah, no, I believe.
tons of stuff, all kinds. I'll pass this one around, which has been done in communities all around the country. And in some communities, in many communities, this pop-up project has been done by volunteer teams with obviously the support of the people. Didn't just rogue go out there and start painting the roads. You know, there has to be cooperation. But the work group would like to try this out in this way. Before we let a contract and go hire a pavement painter to paint the, 9-mile loop of Ocean Parkway, I forget, would be to pilot this. It's paint, it's cleaning the debris and filling the holes would be somebody else's job. And then volunteer team having, with orange shirts and so forth. There's a whole guideline on how to do this. There's a budget. It's been done in 50 communities to do some blocks of approximately 8 feet long with a bike stencil, like I showed in the picture here, with a bike stencil and a pedestrian stencil that would show the bikes go this way and the pedestrians go this way. And you alternate those every so often. We think about 12 to 15 blocks around the Ocean Parkway on the shared lane would clearly denote to the community, this is also for bikes and peds. Yes, contractors sometimes park there when they're taking down your trees. The trash cans go there, but they shouldn't go in the shoulder. But this is for bikes and pedestrians. And what was shown in these studies around the country is a 27% increase in 2 years of the number of people who then felt safe and were using those lanes, because people felt safer when it was clearly marked to show people, because the cars and the bikers and walkers, that this is for you too. And so we'd like to try this out as a pilot, and I'm not asking to give you all the details today. It would take a number of conversations to try out this painting these blocks with the stencils. We have received now grants from the Coastal Realtors Association and a pledge from the chamber for the paint and the stencils, and we have the volunteer commitment to get this done. So it doesn't need an answer today, but I'd like to throw that out for your consideration and for further discussion.
Right.
Happy to answer your questions.
Thanks. Any questions from the board? Jeff?
Hey, Patty, I just want to say that, I see an increase in bike traffic, and it's awesome to see. Ocean Pines is a great place to ride a bike. Your passion is contagious.
Thank you.
And I want to say that, when you come before the board, you always offer constructive feedback. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the board.
And Steve?
Yeah, Patty, just, I want to go back to the slide about the existing walk and bike areas. I'm assuming these are Ocean Parkway pictures.
Yes.
Just so I'm clear, any cost that's involved to meet the goals that are down here about removing the pine needles. And I remember was it last year or the year before last, there was a lot of discussion about the shoulders being sandy and gravelly and
All that, sure, Nick's going to talk more.
difficult to get around and all that.
Mhm.
My question would be, who foots the bill for this? Is Ocean Pines expected to, notwithstanding the painting, which I understand,
Right.
but the cleanup to mark off the areas before you put the paint?
In my opinion, that is a maintenance function of other communities have street sweepers or blowers. The guys go with the mowers right down that same area right now
Right.
and could take the gas blower and blow it off. Who fixes the gravel holes that the mostly utility companies cut out? I don't know what the arrangement Ocean Pines has with that. In other communities I've been in, the county or the city would hold that utility contractor that cut that hole in the gravel to task and say, this needs to be replaced at the same position. If it was paved, it needs to be paved, not leaving a 6-foot strip of gravel. So I'm not sure who's responsible. John and his team would know that more, but that would not be a volunteer function. And yes, there probably would be some cost associated with that maintenance.
That's what I want to know. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you, Patty. I really appreciate it.
You're
Do you finish your presentation? I just want to make
Yes, sir.
sure.
And
Okay.
Nikki is our work group member.
I don't know how much more I could
Sure.
add to what Patty's already said, but one of the reasons I think I was asked to be on the committee is that I'm an avid cyclist in the community. I average over 4,000 miles a year on my road bike. So I've seen just about every road in Worcester County. So of course, I go in and out of Ocean Pines all the time, and Ocean Parkway is just not really safe for cycling. There's, like Patty said, there's not enough room because there's pine needles or due to utility work, there's a lot of patches, and they don't do a very good job patching a road. Half the time I'm riding out in traffic or I'm zigzagging in and out all the time, and it's not safe. Thankfully, our community drivers are generous enough to give us room to get by. So it would be really helpful if we could get the pine needles blown off and there's there's a lot of holes and it's dangerous. You hit that hole, you're going down. Okay. So it'd be really helpful if Ocean Pines could help with that. Also, Patty had mentioned, not here today, but Ocean Parkway is pretty wide and we could actually narrow it a little bit more to make the shoulders a little bit wider and safer for pedestrians and cyclists. And there's a lot of cyclists that and people walking, they don't really know what side of the road to walk on. So by having these stencils painted on the road with directional arrows will really help. Okay. And I have a thought about what else might help, but I don't know how well Ocean Pines would receive it, is that what if we did away with the medial strip with the trees, because the cars are hitting trees in the medial strip. We could get rid of that medial strip and we could, move the lane over and make a nice wide shoulder that would make it a lot more safer for bicyclists and pedestrians. John, you had a question?
Thank you.
She's run And I get it about the 2 feet and all that stuff. Well, first, I will, in my staff meeting tomorrow, will address the Pine Needles again. I wish I had a street sweeper. We're gonna see if we can rent one or whatever, like we do other equipment. But I have a question for you, and I know you're an avid biker. I see you and all that. And I get it about the 2 feet. But I get a concern on, I walked out that area that you're talking about. The trucks today with the wide mirrors that really go out. And I'm being honest, but you tell me, would that be more of an issue or a safety thing? I worry about those even when I walk it.
Yeah, even when I walk to
You
the
know what I'm talking
mailbox
about,
at times, there's,
Yeah.
the cars aren't really paying attention.
Right.
They're almost.
And
I
those
almost have
mirrors
to
are
jump
out.
off the shoulder, but you're right, the rear view mirrors on trucks and.
That concerns me.
Is an issue.
When I came back and heard this presentation, John, I heard it at Bike Maryland Day in Annapolis.
Right.
This woman, the study, these 6 cities where this has been implemented, and she gave the stats, and I can send you guys, it's an amazing study. I came home that night from Annapolis, got my tape measure out, went out to Ocean Parkway and measured the road. I measured it from where my house is at Footbridge. It was 16 feet wide from the median to the shoulder edge, not to the edge of the road, but to where the white line is. And it's about 4 feet, except where the pine needles or the holes have encroached it, 3 to 4 feet in various lanes. Her study showed that around the world and around the country we have grown our car lanes. And so then I went to my neighbor who has the biggest Ford F-150 in the neighborhood. And I said, could I measure you mirror to mirror? And it would still be roomed. And then I stopped when the FedEx truck, when I was riding my bike, I stopped the FedEx truck driver one day and I asked her, how wide is your truck? And would it fit on this? And she said, yeah, I drive through Berlin and through other towns all over the county, through parts of Ocean City where the lanes are much narrower. And what happens is, and what this study showed, the wider you make the line, the faster the traffic goes. When you're on a narrow road, you naturally slow down, right? And it makes you slow down. And so, yes, I believe there is room. I think we'd have to go out there with the tape measures and make sure that's true. And in some areas, the side lane may not be able to be a full 6 to 7 feet. Like on the bridge where you come over just before the golf course, where that bridge is. I think there's probably not room to make it 6 to 7 feet. But if you could make it 6 to 7 feet in most of the community, it would tremendously increase the safety.
Right. And then the other one is, this is my last one. Any project, anything I bring forward or we talk about, there's always at different points, just a high level estimate of what something costs. I haven't heard that. Now, I know a lot of this is preliminary with different ideas, but quite honestly, without knowing what it would cost to do the medium or even this with the extra 2 feet, we're talking about 9 miles. Do you have estimates at this point? Ballpark, just high level.
So this workbook that I've been working from since I saw this presentation and the data that I have has actual budget summaries of other communities. And essentially for the pilot project to do not a full green lane all the way around the whole loop, but to do 12 to 15 blocks of paint is about $1,000. And we currently have a commitment from the 2 grants of $750. That's not filling the holes and doing the grinding. That's the paint and using volunteers to do that. As you can see in this picture, these are community volunteers that obtained the materials, did the painting of these blocks. So it's really time, paint, and effort to get this done and to do the pilot and then leave it for a year and say, at the end of a year, how did it go?
Right.
Does the chief see increased traffic problems?
Right.
Do we see more people walking and biking? Is there any negative from the truck drivers? We're going to hear negative from our community because our community is vocal and everything that happens has feedback, right? I mean, certainly you know that, but it's the data that shows how does it turn out a year later, and doing 12 to 15 blocks as a test for a year is what the workshop is requesting for your consideration.
Anything else? Patty, thank you so much for your robust update. If the association membership would like to get in contact with Patty, they can get her at wcbikeped@gmail.com. And I think if we can possibly get this PowerPoint presentation somewhere, post it at some point in time. We can do that. But there's association members that would like to get in touch. Once again, you can reach Patty at wcbikeped@gmail.com for further information and discussion. So thanks again, Patty. Thank you. Next up, we have appointments. Then put a motion to approve the appointments of Becky Leinert for Chair of Recreation and Parks, Joseph Peloso, first term Bylaws and Resolutions, Ken Petrini, first term Elections, Karen Kaplan, first term Aquatics, Randy Weinmiller, first term Budget and Finance, Frank Brown, first term Budget and Finance, Robert Hillegas, first term Budget and Finance. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Motion passes for the appointments. Next up, the adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming out.